Okay, we got to talk about it. we got to talk about it. This is Friday. We're recording Friday, September 12th. We're gonna talk about the Charlie Kirk shooting, and but not in the same way that you're hearing about it. We're recording right now. It's 9 in the morning on the West Coast, noon on the East Coast, and they caught the guy.
Yeah,
They caught the guy. So this is very different than anything that you have seen in this week, actually, about this in the past 2 days. It's only been 2 days, right? It's only been 2 days.
It's only been 2 days. It has only been 2 days.
Okay,
And
so speculation and fear and statements from everybody that you care about and a lot of people you don't care about, and now we have some clarity around who this guy was, and it's not looking like anything different than what we've seen before, right?
yeah, and that's the thing. What we're seeing in these political assassinations, even with the attempted assassination of Trump, the profile is like really muddled. You know, it's not like a very clear-cut individual with very clear ideology. Like the guy who shot at Trump apparently was right-leaning and was a Trump supporter. And then this guy who shot Charlie Kirk, his name's Tyler Robinson. He's 22. He apparently comes from a conservative family, from what we can tell. He grew up in Utah, and he apparently, his family members said he got more political, started trash talking Charlie and saying Charlie spreads hate. But that's hearsay from one family member. We don't know the specifics. But it clearly he came up in a right wing area, right? This is not like someone who was just like a radicalized liberal his whole life. We don't know any more details than that. We don't know. He seems to be a complicated figure, but it's one of those cases where it's just a lone wolf. This is not a guy of the left. This wasn't an organized shooting.
Right. So who was it not? It wasn't anything that Donald Trump said it was. So that's one thing that we're going to talk about here is that we're not going to analyze Charlie Kirk. Sorry if you tuned in for that. You can get that everywhere else on the internet. We're not going to argue about what Charlie Kirk has said, because that's also all over the internet and you can judge for yourself. And it's been said. We've said it before. People have said it before. Charlie knew who he was, and the people knew who he was. We're going to talk about the people who are talking about him and used his death immediately within hours of him dying to attack, to politicize it and to attack the left. And they said it was liberal radicals. They said it was organizations. They're saying it's liberal organizations that funded this. Like, he was using it to go after organizations that he's been trying to go after. And it wasn't, what we know now is it wasn't any of those people. This is, again, it was a lone wolf. It was a young white dude, right? Which is pretty much the archetype for this thing. A lot of language that they found so far, and the bullets were about, like, they come from the internet. Actually, this is like the funniest thing going on right now is older people on the news trying to analyze what he wrote, and it's all like meme shit. Like, it's all stuff that only Gen Zs understand.
It's on the internet.
It's stuff from video games. Like, it is stuff that's coming from somebody who spent a lot of time isolated and online. Too much time online. And there'll be other stories about his background and all this other stuff. But what's true is that this is another evidence point to young men being isolated from society, radicalized online, and choosing to do the worst things.
Exactly. And that's the point. It's, it's incel behavior, right? It's a radicalized young male that was lonely, was on these online platforms, and we need to stop pinning it just on one side or one. It's a phenomenon that's happening among young men, and it's something that needs to be addressed. And that should be the real thing: is these incel, these people who are radicalizing people. Also, another thing to point out is that Nick Fuentes hated Charlie Kirk as well.
Yeah,
it's not just the left that hated Charlie Kirk. There's like Nick Fuentes and the Groypers hated.
The Groypers, that was his. Those are his people. He would send people to Charlie Kirk's events to make fun of him and to yell things at him in the crowd. Nick Fuentes is a white supremacist.
And he's to the right of Charlie.
Yeah, he's to the right of Charlie Kirk. He's more outwardly racist than Charlie Kirk is. And he has actually turned against Trump in recent months because he thinks that Trump is not extreme enough and he's not racist enough. And so this is what you're saying about it's not that it's not as clear cut as people want it to be. It is not a good
Exactly.
guys and bad guys thing. Like
And
that, yeah, this guy thought he called Charlie Kirk a fascist, but it was actually had more in line with people who are further to the right than Charlie Kirk is.
yeah, and we don't know exactly, again, like we don't have enough details yet, but the whole point of this is just that before we even knew who the guy was, Trump was blaming the radical left in an Oval Office address,
Yep.
right? Just blaming
Unprecedented.
unprecedented, blaming the radical right, saying they're going to go after organizations that support this. That has collapsed. It was a lone wolf kid that was an incel that was online. We don't know exactly. Maybe he had some left-leaning tendencies. Maybe he also had some right-leaning tendencies. His family appears to be conservative. His dad's a veteran, from what I can see, and we don't know. It's just like the political violence era is the problem, right? And I think obviously Trump contributed to a lot of this since the moment he came down those golden escalators in 2015. And I think we're in this environment that we need to condemn overall. Obviously, we didn't agree with Charlie Kirk, and I thought he had a bad influence on the world, frankly, but I don't think he deserved to die. And I think that's pretty standard there.
Yeah.
But overall, when it comes to
No one deserves to die for politics. This is it's ridiculous, and I feel like some of the condemnation of violence. I know some of the opinion about this was that people on the left were condemning violence too quickly and not stating enough about Charlie Kirk and how he didn't condemn violence and how he fomented it. And I think that those of us, especially like people like you, let me say this real quick. People like you who, you're clearly not on the right. You're clearly on the left in your beliefs. People like you have to immediately say condemn violence because you don't want it on you. You
yeah,
don't want it on you.
and
You're in politics. You have clear views about politics, and you're like, this can't be normal because then that's
yeah,
coming for me. It's a
and
very
and
logical response, actually, I
yeah,
think.
and it's not even just from the like point of like I don't want to be shot myself, but also like
Which is fine
which is
if that's
fine,
it.
but it's yeah, which is a logical thing, but it's also like there's steps to it. The day after he's being killed, as a human being watching it, it was disgusting. I don't care what his views were.
Right.
It was horrible to watch him die. I had a human reaction to that. And I thought that was terrible. And then the next step is, okay, people with influence and platforms, we have to, I know it feels old school. I know it feels like Obama era to do things like that, but that's what we need. We need to release those canned cliche statements condemning political violence because it just needs to be said because the
Yeah.
temperature needs to go down and it needs to be shown. And also, I think it's important for those who very clear, I've condemned Charlie Kirk while whole time while he was alive, dissected his statements, gone on him. At one point, his team reached out to me to try to get me to debate him. This actually happened.
Oh my God.
Where in
Wow.
2021,
Okay.
his team actually offered to fly me out to Arizona in a DM to debate him. And
Wow.
I ghosted him because I just didn't want to deal with it at the time, and I was working
Good
on some
choice,
other
man.
things. Yeah,
Good choice.
I was working on some other things, and I just didn't do it. But like, again, point is, me of all people who and other people who clearly disagree when they say when you say I don't like anything this guy stands for or says, but he didn't deserve to die. That is important because it needs
Yeah.
to be said so that other people can recognize that we don't shed our humanity in these moments. And if we want to model the politics we want after Donald, we have to not compromise on those principles. And I've gotten I've gotten a little bit of heat. I won't get into specifics on it, but I've gotten some heat from not going as hard as I guess I could have or should have. Potentially like stating every horrible thing Charlie's done because my first response was condolences and a human reaction. But y'all know everyone knows where I stand on Charlie.
I know, exactly.
But at the same time, the homeboy didn't deserve to die. What we needed was more speech and more to oppose what he was saying. He never fired a bullet himself, no matter what he said, right? And I think that's what that's where we needed moving forward is to model the right kind of politics we want. That's why I like candidates like James Tellerico is doing in Texas. The next Democratic president, I think, is going to be a unifier. That's what I think is going to happen. I think it's going to sprout out from this moment, frankly.
So, and that's interesting. We can get into that. There are people alive today who remember actually, because political violence is not a new thing, right? And I wrote a piece to the Common Power community, and I mentioned this isn't the first political assassination we've all we've all seen happen, and it's not the first time we've watched it on video. Like JFK's assassination
Yes.
is an infamous video, but it wasn't the only assassination. There are people alive today who remember the period in time in the 60s and 70s when political assassination was actually normal, when it was actually a regular thing for presidents, candidates, political leaders. And it's Martin Luther King, it's Kennedy brother, Bobby Kennedy, it's Fred Hampton,
Yep.
it's black organizers, in the South. This is a regular occurrence where people had political differences and they killed people. And so we know what it's like to live in that world, and we don't want to go back. We do not want to go back to that because that's a different country. And that's a side note. Things are not as bad as they were before. People say that all the time. We're going back. People, this is just like it. No, it's not. It's not just like it. But we're on the verge, and we can stop it. And so that those calls for everyone to calm down yesterday or the day before are because we remember that period in American history where people didn't talk. They just punched or they shot, and we don't want to go back to that. We need to debate principles. We need to win people over, and we have the tools to do so thanks to social media,
Yes.
which you see people saying now social media is evil. And it's not. It's a tool. Okay.
Yeah.
It's a tool and it can be used for good, and the left uses it for good all the time, and that's how we win people over actually.
Exactly, and then that's the point, and that's why, like, I know every Democratic lawmaker and all the leaders and officials are toting the right line, but of course, TikTokers, other people who are kind of just talking heads in the sphere without any, they're talking about like, oh well, I shouldn't be forced to empathize with him or whatever, and it's just like, guys, you got to reckon, like, at some point you have to realize that in order to persuade people, you
Yeah.
can't. Like, what you don't understand, like, I grew up in Virginia, right? So I have people who I went to high school with who a lot of them are kind of revealing themselves to be more MAGA than I thought with their effused.
Wait. Can we say something on that? This is useful moment. Okay, useful moment for everybody in your networks. There have been more people outed right now on their views and the
than the
beliefs
election.
right now than the election. It is crazy how many people you see who are like, like forget just condemning violence. They are like, that guy was a saint.
The effusive mourning, yeah.
Oh my gosh, put up the statue.
Yeah.
He needs to be memorialized, and like a retconning of his like beliefs and his words and stuff. This guy said some terrible things, and you guys are pretending like he's a saint now. And like you said, you're seeing it from old people in high school. You're seeing it from extended family members and neighbors and stuff. Don't go on Facebook if you don't want to.
Yeah,
you don't want to.
You're going to figure out
the worst
like,
of.
You're going to figure out
your
some.
community.
Yeah, you're going to figure out who agrees with some of the things that he said, and obviously he didn't deserve to die, but at the same time, effusively praising the things that he said or what he stood for is a different story. But yeah, basically seeing people showing themselves to be MAGA. But the point is, like, I know these people, and I grew up with them, and they were good people, and they've had my back at different times and hard moments,
Yeah.
and they believe this thing now. But what people don't understand is that the right sees him as representing them in a lot of ways, and when they see him getting shot, they see themselves getting shot.
Yeah.
And when you say he deserved to die, they say they feel you're saying they deserve to die, and that's like, oh, people don't make the fucking connection on the right and the
love
left.
that you said that.
Like,
I
on the
love that
left,
you
they
said
don't
that.
recognize that they think you're calling for violence on them, and when every callous, stupid ass tweet or post you dumbasses are sending, I'm sorry, but if you guys are you can keep that for your group chat, okay? I'm not begging you to have sympathy for Charlie Kirk, all right? I mean, you can have sympathy and empathy for his family, and you can also have a human. I personally do have sympathy because I don't think he deserved to die. I think he deserved to be debated and have his points debunked, not killed. No one deserves that. But I think if you are dumb enough to be out here posting things like he deserved this or whatever, or those memes like making fun of this, like, check yourself, because you don't understand what you're doing. You are feeding fear and visceral anger among these people who feel that a member of that represented who they are was
Right.
killed, and they think you are basically saying they deserve to die. And
Okay. So
that's what people need to recognize.
okay, so this is great because this ties into what we've been saying about politics in general and how we win elections. So, what we've been saying for months, and this is a part of the journey that began this podcast series that you and I are doing, is that there are people that exist that we need to turn to our side. There are a lot of them are young people, and Charlie Kirk, TPUSA, was about engaging with young people and getting
Hmm.
them to lean more to the right, and he was very successful at that. So these are the voters, and these are the young people. They grew up in liberal households that have begun to turn more conservative, largely because of him and TPUSA. So if we understand those are a key swing voting block, and we know that we need to go after them, like part of the reason you and I are doing this podcast right now is to go after young males on YouTube. Hi, if you're watching this, okay, is to go after young males because we understand that's a key voting block. Our viewership on YouTube for this channel has swung by like 10 points towards men because of the content we're producing, because we understand this is a voting block we need to swing. If you want to continue to engage them, you cannot other them, and you can't vilify them for being convinced that this person had views that align with theirs, or for listening to him. It could be mis and disinformation. The reality, though, is that they're there, and so how do you win them back? It's not by saying that if they believe what they believe, they deserve
To die.
violence.
Exactly.
Right. So there's a part of this that is truth telling, that is necessary in any moment, and there's a part of this that's strategic. So if you're in that space where you think you have a megaphone, like look at you have a viewership on TikTok, you have a viewership on Instagram, you've got an audience that's watching you. If you care about the outcome of elections and you think you control a block of people who can influence that, either to get out the vote themselves or to vote or to maybe turn some of these young men our direction, your responsibility then strategically is to not other them and not vilify them and actually try to win them back. And in this moment where they may be feeling some type of pain or whatever, you need to understand that like this is a vulnerable time, and you need to hold steady until you can convince them again.
Yes, exactly, and strategically and all that, and also, so if you're, on the strategic level, like you can't bring yourself to do that, then also just on the human level to try to get yourself to that place to do it, just recognize like we have to be the kind of change in politics we want to see. And I know that just
Yeah.
sounds like,
We got to be better. We got to
just
be
got to be
better.
better. We just got to be
Yeah.
better. If you want to make a case to actually convince people to be on your side of the political spectrum, you have to actually be better. You can't just talk the talk. You can't just cancel people for saying stuff. You can't just be
Yep.
high and mighty but have no actual principles. Be
Yeah.
real. Be if you're a good person, be a good person. Okay? Don't just sit here and just sit on the sidelines and just say, "Oh, this person says something I disagree with. This person, I'm going to cancel them." And then when it comes time to actually be a real human being with empathy, you have none. Like, live by what you preach then, okay?
That's
I'll
right.
and I'll
That's right.
challenge you on that if you're watching this and you're like, I don't care. Go ahead and like say, "Oh, you're just, you can't require me to be empathy." No, if you want to have empathy, have empathy and be real about that shit. Stand on business. If you want to pretend you're a good person, stand on
Yeah.
business and be a good person and
Yeah.
model that.
If you want empathy, then you got to have it. Actually, if you want people to have understanding for your side, and to not kick people out of the country, and to give people a second chance and all of that, then you've got to practice that also. You got to practice it also. We're getting on the verge here of preaching, man, and I'm ready to look. Are we going to start a religion? What are we going to do?
I mean, let's start a cult. Let's start a cult. But it's just
Cults are
like,
easier than religions. It's
yeah,
good.
it's just, even before we end it, it's just like, I understand everyone's frustrated, and it's a really hot moment, and the stuff he said harmed a lot of communities, but it's just like, if you want to create a better politics, if you don't want us to veer towards like pre-Civil War, there was a lot of choices that were made that led us that direction. All right, obviously it was about slavery. This, we don't have like an underlying major key one thing driving it. It's a whole lot of things that are driving these divisions. But if you want to beat Donald Trump, be better than him. Okay?
Yeah.
If you want to beat what this is, be better than him and be better than them and model the behavior you want to see. And that just, you have to hold true to it. Like, do you know why the civil rights movement was successful? Because MLK wasn't out here being a dumbass.
Yeah.
Okay? He was being smart and changing hearts and minds and making real change. He was not, and even Malcolm X near the end of his life came around to MLK's way of doing things. I'm not saying what Malcolm X was doing was dumb. Malcolm X was you know, he was righteous in a lot of his beliefs. What I'm saying is, we know how nonviolent movements work, and we know that the way they work is to change hearts and minds and to act. That's how you drive real, long-lasting change. Okay.
Yeah.
You don't go out there and just vilify people and say they deserve to die for what they believe in. Okay.
Yeah, and a part of what you're saying is actually, and this is, again, I'm going to tie this back to political strategy because so many people are in the weeds with politics right now, is that you can't just be anti something, and you can't just be negative, negative, negative. That's the easiest way to get eyeballs, actually, and to get people's attention. But you actually can't get them to move in the way that we move on the left without trying to achieve something. You mentioned Martin Luther King, and the reason why his most important speech is about this dream that he has is because he paints a picture of a future that didn't exist, and described a possibility of people coming together in a way that people didn't know or think was possible, and that we need to strive for. And that's some of what you're saying about empathy is about. And instead of grasping on the negativity, painting the picture of a future where we all need to try to reach for, and it is rooted in coming together. It is rooted in empathy and community. It is rooted in some positive possibility and hope in each other, and that is how we've always won. Actually, on the left. That's the reason why this country is so progressive, and why progressive values have won over, is because of that the unity message and building coalitions is actually a winning message.
Yes, exactly. And to think, like, it's a lot easier these days to have that message than when MLK had it. People were getting beat, people couldn't vote, people were segregated, people were being lynched. Yes, there is violence, like, you know, happening now, but it's not like what it was then.
Not what it was before.
And he even then had the audacity to say those things.
Yeah.
It's a lot easier for you sitting on your couch out here scrolling on TikTok to say those things. Okay? We're a lot more privileged than our people when we were younger. So that's why I get frustrated and I get angry about it, because it's like, you're right. The way you're framing it, it's about painting the picture we want in the future. We're not there yet now, obviously. It's very divided. But if we want to provide an alternative, people may not think, like, people online may not be tired of the division, but I'm telling you, every single average person I talk to is exhausted by this vitriol, and they want that better picture, and they want that better future. You just have to paint it for them. And that's why I think people like James Tellerico, who Rant interviewed in 2018, a long time ago, when he was
really
he was coming up. Yeah.
Wait.
We interviewed him in 2018.
Ahmed's saying he found Tellerico before everybody else did.
When he was back in the day as a candidate, we interviewed him in Texas.
You got the receipts, man. You got the receipts. I love that. Okay.
And I'd watch him because he's out here saying, he's doing, and I'm not trying to compare him because, you know, there's no comparison, but, like, we need Lincoln energy, and we need people who are preaching to the better angels, and that's what James Tellerico's doing. And I think that's the dark horse energy of the kind of candidate that's going to rise. And this kind of clicked it into place for me, is that I see what the country needs and what the country's heart, like back when Trump was able to pull the darkest impulses in reaction to Obama, there's now inner light that people can pull from in reaction to Trump. That's what I think we'll see in 2028, and that's what I hope to see, at least.
Yeah, look up. This is good, man. Good medicine for this moment. Look up James Tellerico's announcement video, because it's actually kind of meditative.
It's amazing.
The way they film it's cinematic and meditative. I wish there were more people of color in that video, but
there was one black guy prominently on the pickup truck.
I wasn't gonna say that, man. I wasn't gonna say that. You put him right there next to him too, man. He's like, you need to come up here. But it's a great video. It's a great video because what he says, the way he says it, the the fact that they just kind of let him talk, and it comes from his heart. And I mean, you know better than I do, but who he was back in 2018 is who he is now, and we need that. So homework, if you haven't seen it, look up James Tallarico's announcement video. He's running for Senate in Texas. That's going to be a crazy primary. Common Power is going to be, we'll be there. We'll be there knocking on doors, and we got a hard decision on
Well,
if
you know, well,
him or Colin Allred.
Oh yeah, that's tough. It's
Colin
tough.
Allred, and then if what's his name gets in, one of the Castro brothers, right?
Yeah, it's a tough primary, but like, you know, I just think I think just having that message out there, you know, maybe
Yeah.
he'll lose and then he'll run for president. You know? No, seriously.
This is good.
I mean,
This is good. This is good.
Lincoln lost and then ran. You know, he was a nobody,
know,
right?
man.
Like
I
just a
know,
state.
I
You know,
know.
just so I just really think like, yeah, I'm glad we had this. I know it's running a little longer, but like I think people just need like, there's not enough of this. I don't
Yeah.
see enough people having this conversation out
Yeah.
there. Everyone's trying to just fit it into their own shit, their own like narratives, and like,
Or they're
just like-
following.
or
they're
they're
following the
they're
crowd.
following whatever. It's just like no, like,
The anger and the frustration and the debate and everything, and we're getting lost in the weeds, man. We gotta
it's
pull
like
back.
do what feels true. This is
Yep.
this is the shit that like what people really need. You know,
Yep.
people we're tired of this. We're tired of the vitriol. I'm tired of it. I've been doing this for 10 years. I'm exhausted. All right.
Yeah, man.
I'm tired of this. Like I'm gonna keep covering the Trump administration's authoritarianism, and all that. But like, you know, we just gotta like come together. I don't attack the voters ever. I stopped that
Right.
a long time
That's
ago.
good.
And like,
That's good.
we need to come together and like recognize like this is just not the way. This is just not the way. And the Utah governor was saying that and saying a lot of good things during his presser
Yeah.
on finding the shooter as well. And Donald's being a little, you know, Donald's being weird this morning. So I don't know what route he's taking.
Donald has decided that his ballroom is actually the thing he wants
Did
to
you
talk
see
about.
that?
And that tells you everything you need to know about this political moment. That was a stunt he did 2 days ago. He doesn't give a shit about what's going on. Look, as soon as they figured out who the shooter was, Donald was like, you know what? I can't use this. Hey, look at this ballroom. Look at the construction on my ballroom. This is what's most
It was
important. here. It's just
unbelievable.
on
I
to
think
the next thing.
The moment's going
Pivot.
viral. I want to see how the right reacts to it because they were like, "Our condolences, sir. He was your friend. How do you feel?" He's like, "How are you holding up?" He's like, "You know, actually pretty great. You see this ballroom?" And I was like, "Are you kidding me?"
Yeah, and then the New York Times run this fucking story saying Trump is really broken up about this whole thing. He's broken up, and then they got footage of him at the Yankees game, and he's dancing,
Those ones.
and he's dancing at the Yankees game, and he's doing the ballroom. He doesn't give a shit. Come on, guys, you guys are getting played. Don't
And then-
take the roller coaster ride.
And then-
get off of the fucking roller coaster. Do not follow
And he's
him.
also just so. It just shows how dumb he is. Like he could have ridden this, you know. And he was on Fox News, Fox and Friends this morning,
He was this morning
rambling
that's
for
right.
an hour.
Yeah.
His usual self. My first text I sent to someone was like, I don't know if Donald's going, you know, I was like, I said, I don't know if my first thought was like, I don't know if the shooter fits his profile because if it was someone, you know, before we found out who it was, I was like, it would have been an hour long declaration of war. But
Yeah.
instead he was up there just like
Yeah.
doing his usual bit. He was doing his usual bit. And
He found out it was as a white kid in Utah, conservative parents, and he's like, I'm done with that. And he just went. He said, the radical right just wants people to not get shot. I was like, oh, okay, we're back to old Trump.
But yeah, we'll see how things go. But right now, he's not doing a declaration of war on the left yet. He did it. He hinted at it. We'll see what happens. But all I know is that you know what we talked about is all we can do in our personal lives is to try to model the politics we want to see. You know.
That's right. That's right. All right, back to normal. Back to normal. All right, man. Hey, listen. You can't be tired yet. All right, you got it. Okay.
I gotta keep going.
You got to keep going, man. This is what are we 9 months in? 9 months into the Trump term.
Yeah, what I'm saying is
Long
I'm just
way to
tired.
go,
I'm
brother.
just tired of the vitriol. I'm energized to do the work, but
All right.
I'm done with the vitriol. I'm ready
Okay.
for her to go hopey changey.
Hopey changey.
Everything, yeah.
Barack Obama 2028. I'll roll in with that.
That's what we really need.